Coming up on this pod, we have Joey Montagna for the Montague Hotel. Jev, it was awesome.
It is just an hour of you, me, and Joey firing from the hip, hot takes after hot takes. We bring the best out in Joey. He doesn't want to be a hot take artist, but then he gets with us. He can't help himself. He says stuff he doesn't say on Fox Footy. He's so good to speak to. We absolutely love talking to Joey live from the Montague Hotel.
It was awesome. One of the best season previews we've ever done. You guys know where to find us at 100K Sports. Like and subscribe. You guys can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Spread this out to everyone that you know. Cannot wait for the season to kick off.
Send this to your nan who would have been a big Joey Montagna fan a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Find us on Insta at 100K Sports. Let's go.
All right, welcome back to a very special season preview. Our guests, 287 games for the Saints, two-time All-Australian, friend of the brand, friend of the company, Joey Montagna. Thank you for joining us for this season preview.
Let's go. So last time you joined us right for prelim final weekend, you tipped Port Adelaide to beat the Swans, which I don't forget. And then there was a good pod and we had a few predictions. You said Swans were going to shit the bed. You were right on that. It was just a week later. We're 4 days out from 2025. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go for
It's a big question. Am I ready to go? I think so. It's been a long summer, especially with 3 young kids and a big build-up. But no, I can't wait. I mean, we'll get into it, but to be honest, this is a bit of a tipster or expert's nightmare trying to predict what's going to happen this season. I mean, I know we probably say it every year how even it is, but we'll get into it. But I think there's 13 teams that could make the 8. There's 10 teams that could finish top 2 or miss the 8. Like it's going to be wild. It's going to make it hard for us experts because we're going to get a lot of stuff wrong. But in regards to not knowing what to expect, I think it's going to be a fun year.
Is that why a lot of people in the media don't actually do the tipping competitions because they don't look like idiots?
Yeah, there's 2 reasons. You don't want to do a top 8 and you don't want to do tipping because the only time people want to bring it up is if you get something wrong.
Yeah.
No one ever gives you credit. Like, I think the start of last year, I was one of the only few that stuck fat on Geelong and I thought Geelong would be high. No one remembered that, but everyone remembered that I left Sydney out of my 8 to start the season. So you only cop grief for doing predictions and these sorts of things. But on the show, I'll do it for you boys and cop some grief.
Kingy left the Swans out of the 8 the other day. I've already saved the Insta video. It is in my arsenal, ready to go. So where are we going to see you on Fox Footy this year? What games are you doing? I know you sort of just said off camera you don't exactly know what's going on yet, but where are we going to see you?
Well, it's just crazy because it's all new. It's new to everybody, particularly with Fox calling every game, having their own call teams and hostings, and there's going to be plenty of moving parts. So I know that I'll be doing Thursday nights for Fox and Saturday. So I'll probably call a game on a Saturday, some of those early games, and then Thursday night I'll be part of the big team with Jay Stunsell and Kingy and the boys and the call team, Matt Hill and Howie. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
Still calling a Triple M, sorry.
And Triple M as well. I'll do Friday nights, Triple M this year, do some specials, and then I'll call on a Sunday.
Jeez,
so we're doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I guess a good way, though, if you are continually doing it, you just be over everything, and every time you read,
see every team, every player.
I have to watch the games anyway for work, so I might as well get paid to go there and sit there and talk about it rather than sit at home and have a pizza and a bottle of red. I actually think it might save me a bit, so looking forward to it.
That's a big year. It's a good start. So, all right, let's get into it. We're going to do some big picture season predictions. We're going to fire some hot takes. I know you just said you're not the biggest hot take artist. No, you don't have to be, but who do you see as the top 4 teams in 2025 and what gives them the edge? If you can name 6 teams if you want, but who's the top tier sides of 2025?
I don't want to be a fence sitter because that's not what we do, but to be honest, it is really hard. Yeah. Like I've only sort of given half a bit of a top 4 on Triple M. I went on with Billy and Daisy on the rush hour the other week, and I had Collingwood in my top 4, and there's a bit of a theory behind that, and I'll give you the rundown. So every year for the last 10 years, a team from outside the 8 has jumped into the top 4. So we know that is most likely going to happen. But when you dive a bit deeper, 9 of the 10 years, the team that's jumped back into the top 4 played finals a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So it's not like a team that's just sort of built and spiked. It's a team that sort of rebounds.
Yep.
That was why I was bullish on the Cats last year, and they ticked that box. So really that means it's Melbourne, Fremantle, Collingwood are probably the 3 that have all played finals in recent years that have had a bit of a dip. I went with Collingwood only because they have to be a contender with what they've done with their list and the way that they are in some ways sacrificing the future for now. Now, whether they're good enough, injuries are going to play a massive part. I'm not sure whether I'm real confident with that. Same with Carlton. I have Carlton in my top 4, but I'm wavering. I don't know. I want to stick fat with the Blues. I think that they have to be, again, contending with the list they've got, the age profile, where they're at. They should be around the mark for top 4. And the other 2 that I'm probably the most confident on are Geelong and the Giants.
Yeah,
I think the Giants, they sort of seem to be the flavour of the month at the moment. Yeah. Everyone's on the Giants, plenty of talent. They've got a lot of depth. Not much depth under, though. They've got a pretty solid 25. But after that, they've got a lot of kids that haven't played a lot of footy. So they'd want to stay healthy. And Geelong's probably the one I trust the most because they're just a great club. Best coach in the league. They've now got 10 games down at GMHBA this year. I think they've got a pretty soft draw. I think it's off the top of my head, St Kilda definitely twice. I think it's like Richmond or North twice. Port Adelaide twice as well. I can just see them winning 14, 15 games. I think they'll be top 4 again.
So we've just finished previewing every team. We went through every schedule, everything. Is there a team like Geelong get a bye in round 16, I'm pretty sure, and then they have the softest draw the last 8 rounds before they hit finals? It suits Geelong to an absolute T. They'll get the bye, they'll freshen up like they did in 2022 when they went on the 16-game win streak. It just screams they're going to do that again. And then I'm not going to lie, I saw you do that Triple M clip, and I actually didn't see the end of it, who you tipped. I was positive you're going to say Freo. Are you trying to be a bit... Are you trying to keep expectations down on Freo? Because their schedule is perfectly set up for them to make top 4.
They have a run through the middle of the year where I think they travel twice in about 8 or 9 weeks, don't they, with the way it's worked out. So, Fremantle absolutely will be around the mark. They certainly should be playing finals. There'll be something that's probably gone wrong if they don't make finals this year. The list is in great shape. They've been building for a few years. They'll certainly be in my 8 and they'll be around the mark.
Yep.
So what team do you have sliding down the ladder? I've got 3. So I've got the Swans only because they finished on top. There's nowhere else to go. So they'll probably still finish top 4, top 8, but there will be a regression. Port Adelaide, I think they've overachieved the last 4 years. 16 wins, 10, 16 and 17. There is no way they finish second. And then I've also got the Bombers. I feel everyone else comes up. Is there anyone else?
Bombers or...
Yes. So I see them going down.
Right, okay.
So they're the 3 teams I see sliding. Is there anyone, do you agree with them? And is there anyone else that you might see slipping down?
I probably have Brisbane and Sydney sliding down, so I didn't have them both in my top 4. Brisbane are going to be around the mark again, but I just think there's naturally just you breathe out a little bit when you win a flag. I think it's human nature, but they're still going to win a lot of games at home. I think Joe Danaher is going to be a big out for them. That'll be underrated. Second ruck, what he does, the flow-on effect, all of a sudden it means Hipwood gets the number 1 defence. So Hipwood's going to play on Stephen May, Alex Pearce, all the best. That makes it hard. They've got a couple of kids. Logan Morris, a good player.
You've got Day that's coming.
Day, what we're going to get. They find a way to score. They score at will. Sydney, I've got sliding as well. Same thing. Just, coming off a big blowout in the grand final. History shows teams do drop away after that. New coach. They were so heavily reliant the first half of the year on Goulden, Heaney, Warner. What they did at the first half of the year was incredible.
Yep.
After that, they were 5-5 coming into finals, and you knew I was a bit off by finals time, that the numbers were showing that they weren't the same team as the first half of the year. So which Sydney are we going to get?
Yeah.
Probably just got them sliding a bit. And the Dogs are probably the other one I've got missing the 8.
100%.
I just think there'll be pressure at that club this year. There's already the Jamara stuff. They've already got a lot of injuries. Bevo's going to come under a bit of heat again. They're a hard one to catch, the Dogs. I had a look at their numbers. So their numbers stack up pretty well last year. There was a little bit of flat track bully about them. They beat up on the bottom teams. They beat them by 10 goals and it maybe inflated some of their profile, which looks pretty good. So I'm with you. I've got Port sliding out, the Dogs as well.
Yeah. Nice. You got anyone? Who else? I've got Carlton sliding out. I think it's an absolute moral. They missed the 8. I don't think they can defend leg speed. I don't think they've got enough leg speed for the new AFL. I reckon it's an absolute lock they don't play finals this year.
Yeah, the only reason I'm sticking fat with them is so when we talk about the turnover game, being able to the differential scores for and against off turnover, 18 of the last 19 premiers have been top 3 in that stat. That's how the majority of the games played. Carlton were actually really, really strong in that last year. Where they were hopeless was defending clearances. They got scored against at will at clearance. Now, is that personnel behind the ball? I'm just going to stick fat for one more year, but you're right. They are one of the teams I mentioned could easily drop out of the 8, and there'll be a lot of heat if they do.
100%.
But that's like a lot of clubs. They could be top 4, they could miss the 8. I wouldn't be surprised either way if Collingwood and Carlton miss the 8 or if they finish top 4.
So it's going to be such a good season.
So hard. That's basically the same one. So let's get on to some players. Players we want to watch. You go first.
Yeah, if you were an AFL coach and if you could get your hands on any list, what would it be? Would it be Freo? Would it be Hawthorn?
For this year?
Yeah, if you were to coach this year, what would your lot be?
Yeah, it's a good question. Probably the Giants.
Giants?
I think the Giants. I mean, their back line, like man for man, is elite. Like the Buckley, Himmelberg, Sam Taylor. They've got the running half-backs, Iden, the lockdown. The forward line stacked now. Toby Green, Hogan, Stringer. And the midfield, got to stay fit and healthy. Kelly, Canelio are going to be crucial. They're already missing Tom Green, but Callahan, they've got a good ruckman. They've got Darcy. Their half forwards are elite. Darcy Jones, Brent Daniels. So, I'd probably want the Giants list, and I think that's why a lot of people are bullish on them.
Do you reckon I'm not saying the Giants overrate their midfield a little bit, but do you reckon we might see maybe Stephen Coniglio, Josh Kelly become slightly more role players this year? Sort of like you saw Josh Dunkley do at the Lions. Like I watched him grand final day, played himself on Heaney, had 20 touches, kicked a goal and played a role, and it wasn't about getting 30 touches. And it's like, let Tom Green and Finn Callahan cook, and then you guys just stop the damage. Because as I said, the Swans backline and forward line compared to the Giants doesn't compete. But we went 3-0 against them last year because Heaney, Warner, Goulden got off the chain every time.
Yeah.
Do you reckon, you're going to see a bit more role playing in Coniglio, Cal Ward, Josh Kelly to slow down the Oppo's mids? Because then their defense and forward line will beat any team.
Yeah, I think you're right. They've got to find the right balance. And they are a bit thin. Like, besides those guys, there's not much else to go through there. So I know they've tried Bedford as a tagger. Yeah. Now, whether they go with that again, does O'Halloran get more of a chance? Do they try and throw Brent Daniels in there a bit more? Yeah. That's going to be the challenge for them. But otherwise, as you said, from a pure list perspective, they tick most boxes.
If Kieran Briggs went down, can you still tip him for the flag, do you reckon, if they lost him? Because they don't have do they have another ruckman?
I don't even know who's that.
Lockie Keefe, I think.
Lockie Keefe, yeah.
Or do you just back in that, like a good team like a Brisbane? I know they don't have a dusty forward on their list, but it's just just get a big guy in there that can just compete. And then the rest of your team around the edges is so good that you can make it work.
The question though with that is you could say that about every team in the eight. If you take out one player for one team, how much of a difference it makes, it'll be huge. So they're one to watch.
Yeah. So which young player or draft pick do you think is going to have a breakout year? Who are you looking for? Who are the young guns you're pumped to watch? Were you all in on Jagger Smith?
I'm doing Supercoach. I'm actually a Supercoach ambassador this year, so I had to start putting in some work on the Supercoach kids, and I did have Jagger Smith straight in there. I think a lot of the top end talent are going to be pretty special. The kid Murphy Reed that playing at Fremantle, he's doing some pretty nice things. Who might be pushing for selection. I'm a big fan of Josh Smiley. Now I know he's a bit injured. He might not start the year at Richmond, but he's going to be one that I'm really keen.
He's a huge.
I'm really keen to watch. And Harvey Langford's a beauty at Melbourne as well. He's going to be a special player. So
huge.
He's a big unit, beautiful mover, lovely left footer. So there's a lot to like about a few of those boys.
And then West Coast, Harley Reid. You just got to turn the TV on for Harley Reid. Are you pumped to watch Harley Reid this year?
Yeah, I am. I am just a little bit cautious about the second year issues. I know he's had a bit of an interrupted pre-season. He came back maybe not in the best nick, and he's had some niggles. But he's always box office.
I just don't know how that happens. Whether he had too long of a holiday. How don't you come back in good?
Yeah, I know. You know when you're 18 years old, you're a rock star. You have your 8 weeks off. You come down to Melbourne.
Do you reckon he's more got the personality of say your Dane Swans and your Dustin Martins and your Jordan De Goes, you enjoy the off-season rather than, I don't know, Nick Dacos, who's just workhorses.
Everyone develops at a different rate. Yeah. Just the talent's one thing, but the professionalism, I mean, you talk about those guys, De Goey, Dusty, Petrarca. The penny dropped after a few years. It wasn't their first year like a Dacos and Ashcroft and, a few guys like that. So, he's going to be an absolute superstar. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I've set I call it the Will Ashcroft bar, basically. I reckon he's about the 20 to 25th best midfielder in the league, but I reckon he's probably the 7th to 8th most valuable player. Who would you rather on your list, if Will Ashcroft or Sam Walsh at Carlton this year? Who would Carlton rather, Will Ashcroft or Sam Walsh?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
We've got a few for you.
Yeah, okay. Gee, that's tough because I'm a big fan of Sam Walsh. He could win the Brownlow this year. I wouldn't be shocked if Sam Walsh won the Brownlow. I'll tell you why, because the umpires are going to over-index on Cripps. So this year when they do their 3-2s, they're not going to give Cripps the 3. They'll give Cripps 2 and Sam Walsh can get 3. No, they're both superstars. These are always hard ones. I will take... Oh, it's a tough one. That is a good one. Sam Walsh.
Will Ashcroft or Zach Merritt at the Bombers?
Zach Merritt.
Will Ashcroft, Zach Butters at the Port Adelaide?
You're making this... Well, they've still got more runs. I love Will Ashcroft. It sounds like I'm potting him, but you got to go the guys that you've seen.
It's just like he's just turned.
No, you're right.
Turned 21. He had won a Norm Smith medal. It's like he's just going up. So I've got Jordan De Goey here. I think every Pies fan would take Will Ashcroft.
I'll take Will Ashcroft over De Goey. Yeah.
Andrew Brayshaw.
Will Ashcroft.
Tom Green.
Will Ashcroft.
There you go. He's
a star. He's going to take over as their best midfielder very soon. Yeah. Lockie Neal can't keep. Well, he probably can for another year or two, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ashcroft could be their best midfielder by the end of the year.
Is there something in? Sorry for cutting you off, Dust. Is there something in so he did the ACL, but it's like he had 3 pre-seasons in his rehab, and he came back looking like Lockie Neal. Like he's had 2 or 3 pre-seasons. He's got like his man body now. He's still only 21. So I reckon is going to happen with Jagger Smith next year.
Put on some size.
He'll have the big butt, the big legs, and he'll be a brick shit house. And then he'll get all his conditioning done. Then he'll join in the footy stuff from January onwards, and he'll be flying next year.
And you can learn so much sitting on the sidelines, sitting in meetings, watching other players. You can still do so much. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Kick goal of the year called by Joey, which is good.
Yeah,
but also, I have a thing with him. The Lions will Ashcroft away from going for a three-peat this year. You can't tell me that if he wasn't playing in that 2023 grand final, there's no 4-point difference.
Yeah, probably right.
So I think when we look at the best teams of the modern era, like I know if we look at Brisbane's list, they got like 5 guys coming back from ACLs and stuff. And it's like, holy shit, they actually could be going for a three-peat. Yep. So like that's actually how good they are.
Yep.
Who's the most underrated player in the league right now? Who's someone that you just look through the tape, the stats might not be huge, but who's someone that you just absolutely love? Just the cobbler.
Yeah, there's 2 that stand out. I think Caleb Sarong is still underrated. He's a genuine star. You talk about Lachie Neale, Will Ashcroft. I mean, he's an absolute jet, and I reckon that gets a little bit overlooked slightly because of what over being in Fremantle, but he's upper echelon. He's top 10 in the league. The other one who I still reckon is underrated, who I think is now a genuine star. I reckon Brian Myers is an absolute star. He's kicking inside 50. His link play wide Geelong is so good. I think someone like Brian Myers, I mean, talks about Brent Daniels, the most underrated small forward in the league, yet no one sort of really talks about Brian Myers in that breath. I think what he does at Geelong is unbelievable, and he'll have a massive year, and why I've got the Cats as one of the teams to beat.
We had in our season preview with Brian Myers, is this year the year that they put in an assisting small forward? So you don't necessarily have to hit the scoreboard so much, because say you pick your 2 or 3 big keys, one small, but then you've just got like a playmaker, someone that just deals, because I guarantee if every single side had a Brian Myers, they would be so much better.
100%.
So I don't know what the agenda is for the All-Australian, but would this be the year that they might have a facilitator like him?
Yeah, maybe, because I'm sure they were discussing him last year, but the goals tally didn't stack up like the small. But his assists the last 2 or 3 years, I think, are the best in the competition.
Are you on the All-Australian board?
I'm not. No.
Have you been asked to be?
No, I haven't been asked.
Would you want to go on? Or is it?
It's a good question. I think. I think I would. It is an honour to be having that responsibility. There's pressure with it, but no, I reckon I'd like it.
That's awesome.
Yo.
That's working, me. Got us all.
Yeah, beautiful.
Still recording.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one who's, I wouldn't say he's underrated. He's an All-Australian player, but we're going to realise how good he really is. And it's probably going to be Dan Houston this year at the Pies. They're going to use him like an absolute weapon this year. And then, so like moving on to what the game's going to look like this year, tactics, trends, whatever. What do you reckon it's going to like define the 2025 season? What tactical trends, everything are you going to see this year?
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
It'll be ball movement. So ball movement's now king. There's some numbers going around about how contested possession, if you win that, you win the game, is as low as it's ever been. So everyone used to talk about you've got to win the contest, and those sorts of things are not as relevant as they used to be. It's now about ball movement. So the teams that can move the ball, I think, are going to be the ones, and that's why Sydney, Brisbane, Geelong, even the Giants when they're at their best. But I think there'll be more teams will take a leaf out of Sydney and Brisbane. So they were 2 of the highest kick mark teams, because I think everyone's now worked with the man on the mark and how good everyone is by foot skills. There'll be a lot of teams just kick their way through oppositions. So that's going to be something that I'll be keeping an eye on last year, because as I said, Sydney, Brisbane were top 4 in that category. Port Adelaide Bulldogs were high in that area as well. And they were 2 of the better scoring teams. So there are teams that play differently. Geelong and Giants and a few other teams tend to take on the contest a bit more. But I think there'll be a lot of teams trying to play that way. Yeah,
Hawthorn are going to fly from the back half. Yep. So if you can't kick, you're going to stand out.
You can't move the ball, whichever way you do it. But generally the kicking game is the best way to move the footy. You've got to be able to do that. And if you are a handball team like the Giants, I think they need to add a bit more of that ability to kick their way through rather than try and play the tsunami.
And then I watched Brisbane torture us for 2 hours grand final day with their 4 smalls and their small guys. Like, are Carlton going to look too tall this year and not small enough? See what Hawthorn are going to trot out? They're going to trot out about 4 or 5 smalls. Like, do you reckon you're going to need to be smaller?
Yeah, it's a great point. The small half forwards, the two-way runners, it's been a bit of a trend the last few years in the competition. You need elite small forwards that can do both, get up in transition, get back. Yep. So you're right, teams that probably don't have them. The Dogs have probably always been one that's lacked. Yep. Those smalls that can get up and get back. Carlton probably. They've got enough numbers. It's just figuring out who are the best. Is it Motlop? Fogarty, Durden, where do they rate? I think Koch was important in that.
Picked up Will White.
Yeah.
Just picked him up yesterday from VFL. He finally got a spot. The Jag went down. Number 77. He looks good.
But you're right. The small forwards, so that's why Hawks are stacked in that area. Geelong, I think, have got still the best contingent with Close Myers, Stengel.
And they do it so well.
They do it so well. Sean Manor came on and was elite.
Yeah.
Brisbane have always had them. Sydney probably bucked the trend a little bit. Papley is a gun at that, but they weren't stacked. But they did it differently. They
just stood out grand final
for ages that just held up before.
It just scarred me grand final day that maybe we just cannot win with the three bigs.
Yeah.
McDonald, McLean and Amati. I just want us to get smaller. We'll see what
So you're happy with Tom McCartan to play forward? Because you're robbing Peter to play Paul.
No, I'm not. You still need a solid back line.
Yeah.
You need a big man back there.
Yep.
Which coach is under most
Which what?
These beers are unreal. Hey, by the way, thanks to the Montague. They've got us here. Which coach is under the most pressure to adapt their game plan this year? So you've got some coaches. So I've got a coach's hot plate.
Yep.
So I said at the start of the season, 3 of these coaches would be gone by the end of the season.
Yeah.
I've had Ken there for the last 4 years, so we can give a tick to him. Nix, if they don't play finals, you can almost assume that he's gone. Uze, I don't think he lasts another 2 years. If their list is this good and he can't get the players to get over 1 game, 2 games, there's going to be so many coaches, like good coaches, that would actually want to coach Richmond. They're a big club. If Voss doesn't make the finals, he's in trouble. If Brad Scott has an even worse year, 6-game win, I think he's gone. And Simon Goodwin, if the D's don't, you can put Bevo in there as well. Like, there's so many of these, 6 to 13 teams. If all those ones don't make finals, we could almost be seeing 6 coaches go. Fagan might step down next year. Chris Scott might go up to Brisbane. I feel there's going to be a big coaching carousel. Long story short, who is under the most pressure?
It's a great point. It will be a massive talking point in all these footy shows this year. The coaches under the pump, because you're right. It is a year. I don't think you even mentioned Justin Longmuir in that as well.
The only reason I didn't say because apparently they've just given him the extension. They just said, we're just going to hold on to you for the foreseeable future.
I think it's a rolling contract. So, so whatever that looks, there's going to be a lot of coaches under pressure. And again, it's hard to know. Like if Bevo and the Dogs, as I said, I think that they're going to struggle. Ken Hickley would have been in that basket. You've touched on them all. Carlton are going to be the big one, a fallout if they don't make the 8. You've declared them as immoral to miss the 8. That'll be a big story. Vossi's 4th year, a group that's in the window. Goodwin spot on, Nick spot on. It's going to be a big talking point.
I'm positive, with John Longmire just sort of sitting there at home. If Carlton start, say, 3-7, and the big Carlton, when the media gets
the posse, the big posse
will
start.
Will just be like, get John Longmire to this club now, write him an open check. Same with Richmond. If Adam Uze starts 0-10, which he's probably going to, unfortunately.
Uze's got time, surely. Surely Uze gets a couple more years.
I don't
see this period through. You've got to give him a chance. I think 0-10. Everyone's going to expect them to be 0-10.
Do you reckon they're going to win a game?
They'll win 1. Yeah, they will. They'll win 1 or 2. Yes, they'll jag a couple.
Their line's 2.5, and I think unders.
Unders is not a bad option. 3 will be a good effort.
They won 2 last year, but as we said, they've still got, if Lynch can go out there, Taranto, Hopper, they've still got Vlosten.
Jade Short.
Yeah, they got it. You know what I mean? If they can stay there, but I'm leaning the under.
Yeah. Are we going to see high scoring footy this year? You're going to see a lot of more goals kicked?
Scoring always stays roughly the same. If you actually had a look at the years, it always hovers around the same. As I said, the ball movement will look better.
Yeah.
So sometimes people confuse ball movement and scoring. There's 2 different things. The ball movement has certainly been better. It flows more. Doesn't necessarily equate to higher scores. But I think, as we said before, the trend we'll see is good ball movement.
What's the defending of ball movement going to look like? Is it going to be aggressively trying to win it back so you go back at 1,000,000 miles an hour, or fold back quicker so you clog it up, win it back, and then you do your ball movement? What do you reckon it's going to look like?
Press the person.
This is why it's interesting, because everyone's got their own philosophy.
Yes.
So we've seen teams that really play a front half game and try and press. Port Adelaide were a great example. When they do it, they're excellent, but they easily get scored out the back.
Yeah.
Giants are a bit the same. So other teams, then you're happy to sit back and win it back in your back half, because then you get more of the open field to sort of slingshot and go the other way. That's always an interesting one. That every club's got their sort of intricacies, how they go about it. Everyone in the end generally defends the same. No one plays 1v1 and follows their man around.
Yeah.
You work between your opponent and guard space and do all those sorts of things. But there are subtleties, which is probably the hardest thing for us to pick up on, particularly watching on TV, to know how teams do it. But everyone does it slightly different.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you said earlier you don't want to have massive takes, but let's have a bit of fun with this.
Go.
Give us your biggest out there prediction for the season, something that no one else is talking about. It can be as far out there as you want. Is there something just in the back of your mind that you're just like, you know what, this is a chance? anything? Are you hearing like
North Melbourne knock on the door of the 8?
Yeah,
Yeah,
love
see,
it.
we like that.
Absolutely
North
love it.
Melbourne,
You said that
mate,
last
is
week.
there a world where, like, at the halfway mark, North Melbourne are like 9-5 and they're playing great, and everyone's like, "Shit, this is happening. They're coming."
So
That's a wild one. Yeah,
when we did all our season previews, we've got competition A graders and then position A graders.
Yeah.
So I reckon Harry Shea's a competition A grader.
Yeah.
Then they've got Tristan Jerry, Nick Larkey, LDU, and nearly Colby McKercher as position A graders.
Yeah.
He's going to be a star. That's 5.
Yeah, I reckon Charlie Comben is a jet. I reckon Charlie Comben's a gun.
yeah,
Mate,
yeah.
I reckon he's a super
If you got
talent behind the ball.
6 of those guys,
Yeah.
like you can, you can bounce
work around
high.
it.
We did say when you were here last prelim, I said North will win more games than Collingwood.
Yeah.
I think they'll win more. They're going to win more games than one of these big 4 Victorian clubs: Collingwood, Hawthorn, Carlton, Essendon.
Say it again.
They'll win more than just one of these big 4 clubs: Collingwood, Carlton, Hawthorn, Essendon.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone's going to say Essendon.
Yeah.
I still think Collingwood's on the table.
Yeah, that could easily slide if they get some injuries and the old boys just struggle. That's maybe one. The other one I would love to see, which not necessarily a huge left field take, but what if Petrarca and Oliver come back and they're like the best duo in footy
100%.
again? That would be a great story. I can just imagine Petrarca bouncing back and being the best player in the comp again.
100%.
And Oliver riding shotgun.
love
And
that.
everyone goes, oh, these two are back. Because no one's talking about that. Everyone's talking about it now. They want to leave and the club's falling apart. But
What about-
there is a world where that could happen.
Like Bont leaving. I know there's always talk about it.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
There was one today about Zach Butters might not play for
That's
Port
it.
Elliott.
There's a lot of murmurings around that. He was real close to Kenny, Melbourne boy. He's going to get massive offers.
Massive.
You never know how they are. Like he might love Port Adelaide. He
Yeah.
feels like he does, but someone will leave. Some big name will leave because of the money that's getting thrown.
I've got this written down. Is there a chance that at the end of the season, Sarong either commits to Tassie, they come hard at him, or Brayshaw commits to coming back to Victoria to make way for Chad Warner?
Yeah,
Because I'm not sure that I know everyone's saying Chad Warner wants to go to West Coast, but I don't think he does. I think he still wants to be in the premiership window. So I feel it's either one or two of them, and we know St Kilda's throwing out money, so it's either Brayshaw to come back home to Sandy, where he's from. I think Sarong's from Tassie. So is he their first massive signing? You're the
Sarong's
captain.
a country boy, and he's a country
Oh,
country
is he?
boy. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like either that and then Warner goes there, because I don't see a world where they have all 3 of them. So is there a chance that Sarong or Brayshaw at the end of the season?
I don't think so. Those two boys are the heart and soul of the Freo Footy Club. They want to win the first premiership for Fremantle.
Yeah.
That's their mission.
They've
So
definitely
they are
said that.
different. They're loyal. They're honest. So I don't see it happening with them. Maybe the story could be this year could be the Harley Reid story.
Yeah.
The
It'll
$2
get
million
big
from
quick.
every club.
It'll get so big.
Maybe depending on what happens this year with his body and how he plays, but West Coast. Yeah, that could be the one that might.
I know we haven't even started 2025 yet, but will Jamara play for the Dogs in 2026?
No.
Will we see how many games will we see from Jamara this year?
3? 2 or 3?
10 to 12.
Is it it's a trust thing, isn't it? Has he lost trust in the Dogs and the Dogs lost trust in him?
I'm not sure. It's probably deeper. It's complex when we don't really know the full story.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's not as committed and in love with footy as you probably want from your super talent. That's your superstar. Do the Dogs, feel that maybe he's someone that they can afford to move on in regards that they've already got Darcy and Norton there locked away, and another club might be prepared to take a risk on him because he's a super talent. I'm not exactly sure where that situation lies. It doesn't sound promising at the moment. You'd love to see it that he gets back and comes back the second half of the year and lights it up and leads the Dogs to a finals charge. But that's a big watch.
One last bold prediction before Jev moves on. I've been trying to ask anyone if they're in an AFL club, like just give us a nugget. So we had someone at the Hawks. I said, what's a nugget for the Hawks this year? I know this was after a few beers, but he said Chol will kick 50 goals.
Really?
So he said Marvy old Chol is going to kick 50 goals. Don't worry about Mitch Lewis, whether he plays up the ground. He said Chol for 50.
Chol for 50.
So I'm taking it like it's gospel. Yeah.
Well, then I could probably then say that Josh Tracy can win the Coleman.
Yeah.
Beats Hart. He could.
Mine's Sam Darcy to win the Coleman. I reckon it's going to look.
The Coleman race is interesting this year. My brother was messaging me the other night and asked me who I think could win the Coleman. It's wide open. This is a year where someone could bob up and kick 6. Like there's a bit of talk about Thilthorpe. I know the Adelaide people are really bullish on Thilthorpe.
Yeah, the edge. He looks like Lukey. And he's built like him too. Yeah. We didn't see him for 12 months. He was
Yeah. So the Coleman one is going to be interesting. I think, the other little nugget, I think everyone will just realise how good Shea Bolton is.
Yeah.
There's some of the narratives around Shea Bolton last year because he checked out, halfway through the year and, saying he's inconsistent and all this sort of stuff. The numbers that we looked at before he came to Fremantle was he's a top 10 player in the comp.
Well,
he's incredible, and maybe just in a team that's now going to be winning again, you see how good he is.
And we're going to see more centre forward.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't really need to go in the midfield. You're just
Kick
saying
shit, play forward,
he's just going
do
to be
his thing.
I won't get it exact, but we did the Freo season preview, and Jev got his stats when he plays at Freo. It's
At
like
Optus.
eight games, and he's averaged.
He averaged like 25 touches and 3 goals every time.
Still
on Optus.
in front of his family.
Go look at his last 4 Optus, like 4 years of Optus Stadium. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, okay.
He loves going there.
There you go.
He kicked like 5 goals 4 last year. Yeah, he's an unbelievable player. So we do this segment we call it the pyramid, and it's sort of taken from a US show we watch. But like this is what it looks like. It's my pyramid after round 20 last year. So it's sort of tiering the players, but like that's after round 20. But I got to do one for
round 20 had Lockie Neal as the best mid in the game.
No, it's every player in the game.
Every player in the game.
Every player in the game. So obviously I've got to, so don't worry about that one.
Yep.
I've got one in front of you here.
Yep.
Can you get to?
Righto. Give me a look at your pyramid.
So I've got a bit of locked, but like, who would you have number 1 on the pyramid? I've got Lockie Neal on top right now. I think if you hold the Premiership Cup, the Gary Ayres medal, you have 36 grand final day, you play like he did I think he deserves to be. He wears the crown right now. Like you got to take it off Lockie Neal right now.
So we're going as in right now, not who we think. It's right now.
It's 2025. Like this is my pyramid.
Start the year,
and I change it every 3 weeks. So it's a rich tapestry. You say.
Yeah.
You can change whoever you want. So then. Tier 2, locked. Pat Cripps is on my tier 2. I know who the second one is, but who would you have there?
I think I can have more than one on tier 1, can't I?
No.
It's only tiers. Then you go, I get you.
That's a pyramid.
Makes
one
sense.
player
1, then 2.
Yeah, then 2, then 3.
Oh, sheesh. I think the best player in the comp right now is Nick Dacos. I generally do. Now I feel bad for Bont. I was going to put Bont there, but I'd go Nick Dacos is now for me he's now the number 1, and then I'd go Bont Cripps. They're the next 2. Then you start getting into Lockie Neal, Isaac Heaney, Jeremy Cameron, a few of them.
Christian Petrarca, if we see him again.
Yeah. And we work our way down from there. Start putting Jeremy Cameron in that bracket.
How high? Sorry to interrupt. Can Horn Francis go? Because we think he's an absolute smoky for the Brownlow.
He could kick.
He polls really
40
well.
goals and average about 27 touches this year.
Yeah, no, he's bordering on top 10.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, he could be you wouldn't be surprised if you said Horn Francis is a top 10 player in the game.
100%.
I don't think that's a stretch at all.
Anyone I've overrated, underrated? I know there's a few locked there, but I can't give away the whole pyramid right now.
Okay, you're holding it there. I like that you have John Newcomb that high. I reckon he's a star.
Yeah.
John Newcomb is a jet now.
Have I got Caleb Theron too low?
Caleb. Well, no, you've only got him. What have you got? 4, 7. You've got him just outside the top 10.
Yeah.
So that's probably fair when you include a couple of key forwards. No, I don't mind it. Well, Ashcroft's quite high, but I know obviously off the back of how we started the show, you rate him that highly.
I'm back.
If you look at the finals though, like against the Giants, he took over. Him and Joe Dano took over, and the grand final, he was just like, he was running on air.
So my 2. You spoke about how good Caleb Song really is before, and like absolute like diamond of the competition.
Yep.
Him and Errol Goulden are in my doghouse to start the season. I haven't rewatched the grand final, but I've watched a little bit of tape of Errol that day, and I'm furious about it. He wasn't. He's the hardest running in the game.
Some bad vision.
And then it's like, what happens grand final day? And then Caleb Sarong, he averaged 30 touches for the whole year. They needed to win one of their last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he averaged 23 touches 4 weeks. They went 0-4 and they missed the finals. They were equal second on the ladder with 4 weeks ago, 52 points, and they missed the 8. And he goes from 30 to 23 touches. It's like, I want to see it, and a big game like they got a Derby round 3. He should win the Derby medal that day, surely.
Yep. No, spot on. I think late in the year they tried him more forward. He played.
Was he injured?
No, I think they were just trying to find a bit more, some different avenues to goal. They started throwing him a bit more forward. He kicked some goals. The Geelong game, Geelong only had 23.
Yeah,
but he kicked 3. They'll miss some big Sean Darcy late in the season. That helps Caleb with his clearance work and all that.
You were speaking of Murphy Reid before. I saw a little Instagram clip the other day. I couldn't tell the difference between Murphy Reid and Caleb Sarong in the midfield. They look the exact same. They run the same. They were flicking it to each other. Yeah, he's going to be a good player for sure.
Murphy Reid, looking at the tape at him, he looks super smart. Like, he's not afraid to, not getting cute with it, but like he puts some balls along the ground and like very clever, like little ones over the top, like little blocks.
I describe him a lot like probably like Steele's side bottom. He's not the most gifted athletically, but he's got this ability to get out of trouble, a little shimmy, can go both ways. Just a natural good footballer who's going to be there for a long time.
Now, this might touch on a little bit what we've already gone over, but is there a club that you think's in more trouble than people think? And is there any individual storylines that you think are just going to eclipse any other this year? Obviously, we went over the Jamara one and some other things, whether it's Harley Reid coming home. But is there a club that you think that they're one injury away from absolutely bottoming out? And is there a storyline that we think is just going to be massive this season? Or you're hearing anything?
Nothing. I don't think we're hearing anything too much at the moment. I think there is going to be fallout from someone that drops out and has a poor year. That's just going to happen now. Whether it's Carlton, massive story. If it's Collingwood, that's a massive story.
Yeah.
I mean, they have mortgaged their future to get all these players in for the now. Yeah. They've only got a short window with the veterans they've got. If they aren't competing for a flag, then what are they doing? Because they are going to really, I mean, their under 25 talent is the thinnest in the competition. So a couple of those big clubs will be a story.
Like St Kilda, are they going to be super disappointing? I know I don't know what people are expecting from them. But could it be a 5-win season from the Saints? Or is Ross just too good? Like he just knows how to coach week to week to win that week, whoever he's against, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, my feel knowing Ross is even though they are going through a real rebuild, and they actually are. They've gone from like the second oldest group to a bottom 4 in age in the last 3 years, and they're playing all the kids. Ross, they'll still win enough. They'll still win somewhere between 7 and 10 games or 6. They'll finish, in that mid. But they're rebuilding without necessarily bottoming out.
Yeah. What about the Crows? I'm
bullish on Adelaide.
Yeah. So what are they going to look like? Apart from Isaac Reagan, I don't reckon they've got enough talent on the list.
Yeah.
But maybe Thilthorpe.
I'm starting to see it a bit differently. I've done a bit of work on Adelaide. They've got a lot of depth. I mean, everyone spoke about their vanilla midfield. All of a sudden, their midfield this year could start Saligo, Dawson, Rankin. Peatling comes in as a bit of a workhorse with Crouch. Sid Draper's got some X factor that goes in there. Their midfield looks different.
Neil Ball's a role player.
Keys are two of the hardest working half forwards. We spoke about the half forwards. They are two of the hardest working, underrated half forwards in the comp. Rochelle, forget about the midfield. Rochelle's just going to play as a small forward.
Yep.
Just kick 40 goals. Have some games where you kick 5 and win it. He's going to have some quiet ones, but he's a general small forward. The tools, like Fogarty, Thilthorpe, Curtin's going to play that sort of Tex Walker role.
Wayne Millera
comes back. Their backline looks different. Like Josh Royal, I rate, only played a handful of games. Laird, who's been an All-Australian as a half-back, is going to go back there. Michael Annie. I think they've got a lot of depth. I think Cumming, adds a little bit of kicking to their side as well. So I think Adelaide are one that I wouldn't be surprised play finals. They're a bit of my bolter. When everyone talks about, the Gold Coast, Adelaide's, which teams are going to, I think Adelaide are the ones for me that I think can really spike.
I think I'll just have to see it to believe it, sort of thing. But I love that. Who's got the best midfield in the competition, and what makes them so dominant? Who's your number one midfield in the competition?
I still have to say Sydney.
Yeah,
the three boys, Gordon, Heaney, and Warner, mate. And the reason why what separated them, and King and I did all those numbers midway through the year, their ability to hit the scoreboard, either by themselves or set up goals, and their score involvements. We looked at the numbers. I looked at the numbers. It was those three at one stage were tracking to have the most influence as a midfield group in regards to scoreboarding we've ever seen. I think we're going back to Ablett, Chapman, Bartel. We're going back to some of the all-time great teams in regards to how much Sydney relied on them three for their scoring. And that's probably why there is a better question mark on Sydney. Can those three do it again? Are they too reliant on them? Because the forward line and back line does have some weaknesses. But if you just said those three playing like that, they're the best in the comp.
That couldn't have been by chance, because we just did our Swans preview and Heaney was pretty much averaging 15 touches and he kicked 30 goals the previous year. He then went to average 25 and kick 34. So he's getting an extra 10 touches. And then you look at Warner, he's averaging 23 over his last 3 seasons. He went from kicking 15 goals to 35. So do you reckon that was deliberate at the start of the season? He's just packed on 20 goals. And then you've got Heaney that's got another 10 touches a game. Was that deliberate? That couldn't have been by chance. Have they seen something, you reckon, in the preseason? That you guys are our best ball users. We're just going to get you the ball all the time and try and make damage.
Yeah,
that couldn't have been by chance.
I think they just worked out how to maximise their talent. Yeah. And they are a team that do flip players around a lot. So when I was watching one, I might have been the Giants qualifying final in that last quarter when they came from behind. They actually whipped 13 players through their forward line in that last quarter. So what they were doing is McInerney would come up and Papley would come up, but then Warner would spit forward or Heaney would drift forward. So I think because they've got so many similar type players, they worked out the balance between, we'll get them around the footy, but then when we've got it,
spit
drift
out
forward,
Yeah.
and then you use them where you can, and that's what Petrarca and Dusty and these guys were masters at for a long time. So, but also they were just so dominant that they were doing a bit of everything. So it'd be fascinating to see if they can do that again.
I still think Heaney had the best season since Dusty's 2017 season.
It was incredible.
By eye test and stats and everything, it was just unbelievable.
Match single-handedly match winning, the numbers,
the qualifying final,
the goals. It was incredible the year that he had, and that's probably why you think it's almost so hard to replicate.
Did you see Scoops McLuhan not call him an A grader? Did you see that?
Yeah. There are some people you listen to and some that you don't.
That's garbage, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned off the top, about some clickbait stuff, and there are going to be some big takes. Hot takes just to try and stir the pot. Whether he genuinely believed it or not, I'm not sure. But Heaney's the top 5 player in the comp right now.
We've got some seriously good sourcing that didn't go across Heaney's desk very well at all.
Really? Yeah. That's good for Sydney supporters.
Yeah, it
just
didn't
need
go well.
A little fuel.
So, we're going to go opening round and see, and I hope Isaac Heaney turns it on.
So, just to back off that, I've got another one for you. But if you've got them number 1, in your head, who do you have 2 and 3 best midfields? Like, is it Port Adelaide?
Port Adelaide's up straight off the top of my head. Port Adelaide have to be, when you're just thinking about pure, 3 or 4 bids.
It's the difference between winning
they are like
15
Sydney.
games and 8.
Port Adelaide are going to be so reliant on those 3 again. Now, that's probably unhealthy, but they are so good that they probably could do it and get them into another top 4 spot. It wouldn't shock, but they're genuine superstars.
And then Freo.
And Freo's, absolutely as well.
So what is one trade this offseason you think will have the biggest impact? So obviously we've spoken about Harley. Is it, I said, me and Jeff mentioned last night when we were having a chat about it, in a crazy world that Jamara goes, what would the Dogs get back for him? If Bont happened to go this season as well, would they maybe acquire, because they're position A graders and they're notable role players, like they've just got so much depth. Could they have one of the quickest resets of all time? You get 5 first-round picks. They've still got so many good players around the edges. You've got Darcy up forward. You've still got, you can reassure your back line. You've still got a heap of good mids, but, obviously that's in a fantasy world. But is there a trade that you think can have the biggest impact coming into? Because can you imagine that? Imagine Jamara and Bont go. They get 5 first-rounders with all this talent. They've still got a great list.
Yeah,
they could rebound like that. Maybe a new coach. Crazy.
That's crazy, but I don't necessarily mind. I wouldn't let Bont go, but they have been rebuilding on the run. Luke Beveridge said 12, 18 months ago, our list is not, and I don't believe the hype. I reckon it's a myth. This Western Bulldogs have the best list in the comp. I think that again is just a bit to try and maybe go after Bevo. Their top end, their top 5 or 6 are elite, but I think they've got a fair tail when you look at some of their players in the side. Duray, Bram, not that, but when you start looking at their role players, and some names probably don't perform as well. Waitman. I've looked at some numbers. His numbers last year compared to guys like Ben Long and Jamie Cripps. When you look at goals, involvements, but no one would put those guys in the same bracket as Waitman. So sometimes some of the names probably Tim English as well. I don't think Tim English is a top 6 ruckman in the comp anymore.
He has to get
so I think they've been rebuilding on the run. So maybe if they did trade away a few and stocked up, they could bounce.
Well, can you imagine if they went for the future? Yes, you've got an all-timer in Bont, but if you're this is such an NFL move, it's you know what? We might get 3 more good seasons from him. If we get 3 first-rounders now...
They couldn't trade... You're not going to trade Bont. You're not trading Bont. You don't do that.
We all just do that because Luca going to the Lakers. It's
you never think anything's possible? I can't see the Dogs ever trading Bont. But, crazy things have happened.
All right, we're going to do some just way too early predictions, but minor Premier. It's the GWS. Is it free or chance?
No, it won't be free. Not minor Premiers... Yeah, I'll go. Yep, Giants.
Coleman medalist.
Jeremy Cameron.
Yep. And Brownlow.
Caleb Sarong.
Brownlow. Yep. Is Nick Dacos going to get treated like 2014 Ablett this year, you reckon? Tagged like he is?
I would. But 2014 Ablett, you couldn't stop him.
You still couldn't stop him.
So you can tag Nick Dacos. I don't reckon you'll stop him. What I love about that is the way that they can just move him around, manipulate the matchups and manipulate where they play him.
Yeah.
That makes him untaggable. It's not like he's an inside mid like Cripps where you just know he's going to be there.
Yeah.
They'll just manipulate things. He'll let Houston roll in. He'll sit back. Give him an extra one at the stoppage. So I think no doubt team coaches sit there and go, we want to tag Nick Dacos. But if you tag Nick Dacos, he'll manipulate it so that it advantages Collingwood and it makes it too hard. And sometimes you go, we'll let Nick Dacos get 40 and kick 3 and hopefully we still beat them.
And Rising Star?
Rising Star is going to be good one. Harvey Langford.
Yeah, he's my tip as well.
Oh, there you go.
I just got told like how he didn't go pick one is shocking. Like he was just a freak last year. If I was over $100 bet, I'd have 60 on Levi Ashcroft because he's just getting dropped in to the perfect situation, and then $40 on Harvey Langford.
Yep,
I reckon. Yeah, they're going to be freaks. Das.
Yeah, so Jev had his premiership bye, so this is way too early. So every single season, every few times, so he just comes out with a pie with a percentage of teams that can win the premiership. So Jev, run him through it. I think it's on your last page.
Got you there.
Have a quick read.
Starting off the season,
pie.
These are the teams, and this is the slice of the pie that they get before the season to win the premiership. So
30% of the pie, Brisbane. That's a big chunk.
Well, their list, they get 5 guys back. They've got another Will Ashcroft after another preseason. They get Levi Ashcroft. Yes, I know they don't have Joe Danaher. I don't know why I'm backing up Jev's pyramid. He's pie. He should be backing up. But
I think they deserve to be the favourites.
They've got a good list.
So you think 70% of the pie is Brisbane, Cats, Giants. Well, actually, I didn't even know Cats and Giants. You're with me there. So you think those 3 teams are 70% chance of winning the flag? One of those 3.
Yeah,
going by the stats.
Yeah, probably.
That's
you get to pick 3 teams and I get the rest of the league. What 3 are you taking?
Yeah, probably those 3. It's a good one. As I said, I can't even really like. I've got maybe Cats, Giants, 2020, and then I would have 6 teams that are all 10%. Like I think Sydney got as much chance as Brisbane, as Hawthorn, as Carlton maybe.
We haven't spoken much about Hawthorn.
Yeah,
no, it's not. We're not talking about gambling, but they're second premiership favourites on all the bookies.
Yeah,
are you on board? Are you seeing this is going to be good, or is that too overhyped?
I think it's slightly overhyped, only because history has told us with teams in a rebuild, they have a spike year and then they generally have a dip year.
Melbourne did it.
Richmond did it before they won their flags. They missed finals and then they came out and won their 3. Melbourne made prelim in 2018, missed out for 2 years. Even teams like Fremantle and Adelaide, who have Fremantle played finals, it looked like they were coming, have had a couple of rough years. Carlton have sort of had little. So I just think it gets harder. And when I've had a deep dive on the Hawks, here's one for the fans. So they played 7 games against the bottom 4 teams last year, 1 or 7. This year, according to my bottom 6, they don't play any of the bottom 6 twice. They don't play any of those. They don't play Richmond, North Melbourne, West Coast, Gold Coast. They don't play any of. So they've got a much tougher draw. They're still good. I mean, they're good enough. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised with their top 4. They could easily do that, especially with their additions. I just think after a heavy spike, it just gets a little tougher. They'll sort of plateau or dip, and then they'll probably come again.
Yeah, I called them the Timu Swans, who went down horribly on online. But I just think Massimo's just want to be Errol. Warples will want to be Chad. Weddles will want to be Blakey. Who else do I have? Their forwards, I'd take McDonald and Marty McLean over Chol, Gunston, and Deere. I don't see it. And like John, you can.
The Hawks been opening.
I'm going all in.
You're going all in early.
I don't see it. And yes, they are the TikTok Hawks, and they do it different, and they bring the crowd along, and it's fun to watch. But if round 10 they've started, 3-7, and Ginnivan doesn't give hands to Nick Watson, and then they're bickering on the field, and I reckon it's going to snowball quick with the Hawks. Yeah, I'm out. I'm not saying miss finals. Yeah. They're still going to be good enough, but it's going to be 7th, 8th. They're going to be might be 9th with 2 rounds to go. They're going to get themselves in. So. Yeah. I'm a bit out.
It's a competitive year. It's going to be fun.
I've still got them in my 4.
I've got I like Melbourne more than them, I reckon.
Right.
I'll take Petrarca over anyone on Hawthorn's list by an absolute mile. I'd probably nearly take Gaunstill, Oliver. So
it's going to be fun to watch.
It is. If you had to pick a grand final matchup right now, who are the 2 teams and who's going to win it?
Yeah, right now, early, I'm going to Cats Giants, and I'll go. Well, because it's the MCG, Cats have.
Imagine the Cats win, and AFL fans would just
they'd be sick, wouldn't they?
They would just crack the shits. But as we mentioned, they're back 6 games of the year, and Chris Scott's always spoken about it. He's like, we're not in it to just make finals; we're in it to win premierships. So they don't care if they finish 5 to 8. No. They want to come in to the finals healthy. So if they have to rest the back end of the year, and that final 6 games where I don't think they have to leave Victoria is perfect. If they're in a good position, they're going to rest players. If they haven't done so well, then they can ramp it up and do whatever they have to do to win. So
And Chris Scott's like an NFL coach. He tries things throughout the year. He works out which works, which doesn't. They tinker with it, and then come finals time. I mean, really, they were basically a Max Holmes injury away from playing in a grand final. They had Brisbane on toast.
Yes, that was
an amazing game. That was one of the best games I've ever been to. I was live at that one. They almost had Brisbane on toast, and that forced Brisbane to throw everything out the window and play amazing footy to beat them. And if Max Holmes stays on the field, maybe Geelong are in a grand final last year.
We had a question.
They would have pumped the Swans.
We'll chat to each other.
Yeah, they probably would have pumped the Swans too. They played them.
When we did our Swans preview the other night, so the Swans only played 2 games at the MCG, so against Melbourne and against Richmond. Should all interstate sides at least have 1 game at the G the final 3 rounds of the year? Because what a perfect game that was. Because I know
Can't. That's too hard.
like if you look at Brisbane when they versed Geelong, what a perfect lead up. They just had that awesome prelim final. They were in
Battle
Melbourne.
hardened.
They just like did it and like, boys, we're going to do it again. We lost the grand final last year. It just seemed like once they got to the game, they were just ready, like they'd been there.
Yeah.
You know, and like the Swans, like, yes, they don't lose at the SCG and like they just keep winning, but then.
Do you reckon they were overawed by being at the MCG?
I don't know, but do you think, I just don't
Maybe.
I just don't think these teams play there enough. I don't know how many games Freo have there, but if you come to a grand final, it's Geelong Fremantle.
That's why if you're going to be a betting man for grand final, you have to lean to the Victorian clubs because if they play an interstate team on grand final day, the record of Melbourne teams beating interstate teams on grand finals is. We can look it up off the top of my head. It's 70-80%. Like the advantage that they get playing at the MCG on grand final day. So if it is Giants Geelong, you sort of maths numbers go, well, it's got to be the Cats' favourite just because of where it's played.
Surely that could be a go though. Like every interstate side in the last 3 rounds, you get 1 game at the G.
You could make it work for sure, couldn't you?
No, the fixture would be hard enough as it is.
I don't think Gold Coast play a game.
The question though, the challenge is, do you go, well, where are you sacrificing that game? One of your home games? Are you sacrificing? Or is it just the way you fixture up that you play a Melbourne, you play an MCG tenant?
Make it work. So like Carlton, Collingwood and Richmond all play their last 3 games at the G and they get Adelaide, West Coast and Swans and Collingwood. Yeah, there's 9 interstate teams. You can make it work.
Yeah, we understand. It's not an equal competition. It's not an equal because there's no equity in AFL.
Yeah. Like Pendlebury played over 200 games at the MCG. I think Jack Zeeble played like 17. Like there's just like... How
many games did you play at the G?
I don't know, but wouldn't have been enough. No.
I just want to touch on a few topics that are going on right now. So, like Finn Callaghan rejecting the Saints, sign at the Giants. Like, how are the Saints getting this guy? What's it going to take for the Saints? What are they doing wrong? Like, why hasn't he gone for the richest deal in history?
It is big money, and I've got no issue with it. I mean, people don't understand the salary cap and how much money clubs actually have access to, and they're going after the right players. You're going after players that have got 10 years of footy in them. You're not paying 1.7 over 10 years for a guy that's got 5 years left in him. You've got to build relationships to get these players. Players don't just necessarily leave because they've got a check in front of them. You've got to build relationships with them, track them for a while, let them know you love them and you want them. And you've almost got to, take your time to get there. So hopefully the Saints are going about it the right way. They've clearly got the money, but they'll land one. It's just hopefully whether it's the right player for them. That's the one. I mean, you start going down. If you've got your whiteboard and you've got your 10 names, you don't want to get down to 8, 9, 10 too quickly.
Off the top of your head, where would you rank Finn Callaghan? Like 80 in the league, 50
as a midfielder, or just as in the comp?
As a player, like if you're like
I know.
Off the top of your head.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's definitely not in the top 50. Right. So he's probably you're right, probably somewhere 75.
Right, so potential 1.7. Harley Reid's potential going to get $2 million a year.
Yeah,
over 10. If we brought Ablett from 2010, 2011, when he moved to Gold Coast, to now, or Buddy Franklin from 2013, 2014, those two in their prime, what would be a realistic offer in today's age? Would Ablett be offered 2.2 a year? Would Franklin be offered 2.4 a year? Is that stupid? Or if Finn Callaghan, as you mentioned, he might be 80th ranked. Yeah. Harley Reid's still a rookie. If you had Ablett in his prime today, going to Gold Coast with the salary cap now,
going to St Kilda,
Bud going
no, you'd sacrifice $2 million. Easy, 2 and I'd do between 2 and 2.5. Yeah,
Nick Dacos should be paid that. 100%. He should be on 2.
He's signed a long term at Collingwood. I think he's signed for unders. I think Collingwood have done so well there. It just shows the loyalty of the man. But
he should be.
He would be. Yeah, otherwise, he would be probably my one that I'd be paying the highest. As I said, I think he's the best player in the comp.
He went somewhere else.
So we're fascinated with the Gold Coast Suns, and we know you got wined and dined by him.
Was the Capricosa good?
Yeah, it was nice.
No, so I just want to know about this meeting. So did they take you out to go like, this is what we want it to look like this year. This is the journey we're on. We want it to be appealing on TV so Australia gets behind us, and we want the commentators to back us in and love what we're doing. Like, why did they take you guys out for dinner?
I thought it was a good concept. They were in Melbourne anyway, the leaders and the coaches, because they were doing their Channel 7 filming the next day. So they were in town anyway, and they were just trying to basically, to be honest, there was hardly any formality. So they didn't even really get up and speak. Wayne Campbell got up and interviewed, like Dan Rioli got up and just had a bit of a chat, Jared Witts, but there was nothing really along that. It was nothing formal. It was a very informal sort of. So I sat next to Big Mac Andrew and Noah Anderson, and we were just chatting, chewing the fat. It actually wasn't much formal at all. So it was more just to build relationships, because as they're saying, is they don't have a face from the Gold Coast Suns in the media. We don't really get to see them, close and live and build relationships with them. So it was more just a sort of a meet and greet and get to know them. They gave a little bit of a plan. Dimmer got up and just gave a little bit of an idea where they're at with their list and all that sort of stuff. But no, it wasn't anything like that at all. I don't think it's going to stop, anyone from being critical of them if they deserve it. But it was good to meet a few of the players, because I said I've hardly met many of those Gold Coast boys, just from where they are and where they're based, and it was pretty low key.
Yeah. Does Noah Anderson feel like the right guy to be leading the club? I've never seen.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. I think he's pretty impressive. So I think he is. I think he's a star. He's in my super coach team. I reckon he's ready for a breakout. Like his numbers at home are off the charts. He just struggled a bit away, but I think the leadership and as the team continue to get better, I think Noah Anderson is an absolute jet. So
it looks like he's happy.
And Rao's a jet too. Rao and Anderson are pretty special players.
And get Rao.
Yeah, I know.
And Mac Andrew, like he's sky's the limit for him. He's an absolute star.
Yeah. I've left Gold Coast out of my 8. I think it's so hard to put everyone in, but I just I'm going to go with the fact I think they're 12 months away.
Over under 11.5 wins.
The lines are good, aren't they?
Fantastic, they are.
I'd probably 11.5.
So what they last year, 11.
11.
10 at home, 1 away.
Yeah.
They've gotten better.
Probably win over. But again, how many teams can win over? I just think the forward line like that, Jed Walter, if it's Ethan Reid, Bailey Humphrey, even their little boys, Jakey Rogers, Lombard, I'm just going to go with they need one more year together. They need to play this year together. Mac Andrew, just another year to sort of really sprout, and maybe they are a team that will come with a rocket maybe next year. But I could be wrong. They could do it this year. It wouldn't surprise me if they shoot up the ladder this year.
Yeah. North's over-under's 5.5.
Definitely over.
Over, loving the over for sure.
Yeah.
What about same as West Coast? They're 5.5.
I would take more. I reckon they could win 6 at home. I think if they've got all their senior players playing, a new system will freshen them up.
Yeah.
You get the little spot. You get the sugar hit first year. I think they should win 6 games.
Going back to North, I know this is just out of the blue talking about this player, but like I look at Zane Dersma and they've taken him pick 3 or 4 or whatever he is. What's the finished product of Zane Dersma going to look like? Is it like prime Jack Gunston, or is it like Nat Fyfe, or is it Isaac Heaney? Like, what are we looking for Zane Dersma to turn into?
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm not sure yet. I don't know what he's going to end up being.
Off potential. It's like he's got potential to this. He's a high flyer. He can.
But if you got that talent, you can then harness it and make it work. He could have played half back last year and run around and got 25 touches. And it would have been a beautiful kick, a decision maker. But they left him in the forward line. To play, he's going to be that, that third tall, can mark the footy, beautiful kick. Probably in time, he might be a mid that pushes forward, the big tall mid that can drift forward like we've seen. So, not sure where he gets to.
Yeah.
All right. We've probably got a million more questions, but we don't want to hold you up for any longer. Really appreciate the time. We also got a couple of things for you. We've got a bottle of wine. We know you like that. Now, we're massive. Thank you. So we've got your hoodie as well. It's about to get cold, so we've got your hoodie, and also we're massive with our smalls. We absolutely love them. So we've got our smalls tees here. So
beautiful.
If we go to the Giants game, we know they've got a heap of smalls. Yep. If you go to the Hawks, like you won't wear it. You will not wear it. You can use it.
It's the year of the smalls this year. They kick in a lot of goals, so we're all on them.
Yep.
So I really appreciate your time, mate.
No drama.
So much. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed. Anything else in the comments, because we'll definitely get Joey at some stage, hopefully later in the year, whether it's a Zoom or we can come back to the lovely Montague. So it's been awesome. Thank you so much, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, boys.
See you, Joey.
Let's go.